Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul is directed by Adama Ebo and stars Regina Hall and Sterling K. Brown. In the aftermath of a huge scandal, the First Lady of a prominent Baptist church attempts to help her pastor husband rebuild their congregation. So the trailer for this movie is actually a rarity nowadays, mainly because it's actually pretty funny. I didn't think it was laugh out loud hilarious, but I think all of the jokes that were in the trailers for this film were actually kind of enjoyable and made me think, okay, this might actually be one of the rare occasions where even though what they're showing in the trailer is actually kind of funny, the best jokes they are absolutely saving for the movie. And I want to start the review with this because even though, yes, I did really like the movie, it is not a comedy. I do think that it has comedic elements in the film, but for the most part, it is a drama. And I do think that the marketing making the movie look like it was a comedy is a big misstep. This movie already has like a 5 out of 10 on IMDb and 70% on Rotten Tomatoes, purely because, in my opinion, I do think they marketed this movie to the absolute wrong audience. The audience that was drawn into this movie via the trailer is going to hate this. And even though I didn't hate it, there were times where I felt the movie was disappointing because the marketing made the film look like it was going to be something entirely different. I know that I'm already mixing up my usual formula of the good stuff first and the bad stuff last, but I do think I need to clarify this point at the beginning of the review, just in case anyone who was drawn in purely by the trailer wanted to see this movie. Because even though there are some elements in the movie that are funny, it is a drama first and a comedy second. With that said, let's get into the good stuff, starting with by far the best part of this entire movie, Sterling K. Brown and Regina Hall's lead performances in this film. Good God, these are two of the best performances of the entire year. Brown is amazing at playing this character who is at first extremely likable and charismatic, but the more that you find out about him, the more unlikable he becomes, and all of this likability that you thought his charisma held was more just ego and arrogance. And when everything in his life actually hits the fan in this movie, even though you don't really feel the most sympathy for him at this point, you do feel some because of just how amazing Brown's performance is. He doesn't say much with his words in these moments, but his face says it all. His face says all the pain, and that is incredible acting. And even though Sterling K. Brown is a well-regarded actor nowadays, even though in my opinion he is a bit underrated, Regina Hall actually might one-up him in this movie. The person that she portrays feels trapped, like she is stuck in this loop of her husband's idiocracy and all of his sins and mistakes. But she keeps trying to convince herself that it is the right thing to do to stick by his side because that is what her upbringing was meant to teach her. She made this vow to God in their marriage, saying that she would always stick by her man. But now, 15 years onward, knowing just the depths that her husband is willing to sink to for no reason other than his pleasure, she doesn't feel as connected to him as she feels more chained by the ankle to him. And even though they both give amazing dramatic performances, like I said before, even though this is a drama first and a comedy second, the comedy in the movie does shine through when it wants to show itself. The pure passive aggressiveness throughout both the lead characters and the entire cast is just amazing, hilarious, and in many ways relatable because we have all had conversations like the one in the mall scene per se. And the story itself is really gripping. You do find yourself getting attached to both of these characters purely through the actors' performances. And even though the writing isn't mind-blowingly amazing, I do have to give credit where credit is due. I had no idea where this movie was going to go. I had no idea whether it was going to be a happy ending for our main characters, whether it was going to be a defeated ending for our main characters. I had no idea where the movie was going to go, and I just loved trying to predict it. And when it actually happened, when we saw the ending of the film, I was actually blown away. The ending is a really gutsy move that is for sure going to divide audiences, but I loved it. Without going into spoilers, I loved it. As for flaws, apart from the marketing, which yes, I have said earlier, my biggest problem with the movie is, oddly enough, the framing device. At first, from both the beginning of the movie and the trailer, it seemed like this was going to be very much so a mockumentary, a fake documentary starring actual actors, and it's completely scripted. But here's the thing, even though, yes, the mockumentary aspect of the movie is good, they don't dedicate the movie to that style. They sort of juggle that mockumentary style with the usual narrative storytelling that you see in most movies. And while, yes, I really did love the mockumentary aspect of the film from both a dramatic and comedic aspect of the actors, and I also loved the usual narrative storytelling style from a visual and cinematography perspective, mixing the two styles just ends up making the movie feel a bit clumsy. It can never mesh the two, and because of that, a lot of the movie feels compromised because of it. Especially the pacing, which at times was extremely slow, even though this movie is only a little bit over an hour and a half long. But when you get down to it, overall, honestly, I did like the movie. The two lead performances were absolutely incredible, the mix of dramatic and comedic tones were blended very well, and the story was very interesting and thought-provoking. But with that said, I don't believe the movie could ever find a good balance between its two storytelling framing devices, and the marketing for this film completely missed the mark. This movie already is sort of getting a lot of mixed reviews and mixed reactions, and honestly, I can see either side of the spectrum, and even though I really liked the movie, if you didn't, there are many ways that I could understand it. The most obvious being the advertisements were way off. I'm going to give Honk for Jesus, Save Your Soul, an A-. Well guys, thank you so much for watching, and let me know in the comments down below, since it's finally September, what was your favorite movie of this past summer? For me, even though I'm sure a lot of people are going to say stuff like Top Gun Maverick, and even though, yeah, Top Gun Maverick was awesome, don't get me wrong, I really did love Nope, and I do feel like that movie is sort of underappreciated. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are the best. And don't forget to click subscribe and click the bell icon down below to stay up to date on all things movie, all things TV, all things nerd.